Jonathan. Thank you so much for being here on my podcast and sharing from your life. I'm just really excited for this conversation. You were homeless for 10 years. What led, let's just jump right into that. Like, what led to that situation?
Heartfelt conversations can change the world. Here's the Epic Cade podcast.
Well, I was going through mental illness for a long time. Before I even become homeless, I was going through the mental illness, quotations, mental illness. Looking back at it, after going through that for many years, I've come to the realization that that was totally spiritual warfare. Just because, I was talking to these voices about stuff I didn't know about. They were not my voice. It was other voices. You know what I'm saying?
Were they like
So
saying to do dangerous things or hurt people?
nope. We just talked about all different kinds of concepts, mainly like ancient kind of concepts that people just don't talk about in today's time.
What kind of ancient concepts? I'm just really fascinated about that.
Well, like the ancient art of infiltration, like land infiltration, like formations, we used to talk about the horizontal formations, vertical formations, cube formations, circle formations,
Okay.
uh, there's certain kind of formations that you do while you're in motion, while you're moving, and there's certain formations that you got to stand still for, and all this other jargon.
So how did that kind of get in the way of your regular life?
Well, okay, so like I started talking to these voices in my dreams when I was just a kid. And over time, I started talking to them when I was laying down, and it slowly progressed to where I started talking to them when I was laying down. Then I started talking to them while I was in school, like in my head. And then I always used to talk to them in my head for a long time. But then when it got really, really bad, I started talking to them out loud. You know what I mean? And they wouldn't shut up neither. They really hated it when I stopped talking to them. Boy, they didn't like that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
So that just really people just weren't understanding about it, and just how did people treat you?
Well, so like as far as like my family and my friends and stuff like that, I wanted to talk about that stuff all the time. Like my mom would be doing dishes in the kitchen. I'd go up to her. I say, Mom, I just had this cool dream, and guess what? Blah 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 blah. And they got sick of me talking about it because I would talk about it 24/7. That's all I wanted to talk about. Um, and I had sleep apnea, so I wanted to sleep 24/7. And the dreams that I was having were really fucking cool. So the dreams were addictive. It was a very deep REM sleep where I had like powers and stuff. Like I mean, and I was talking to actual beings, like real beings. You know what I mean? So
So
like, yeah,
so it made you feel powerful like you didn't feel in real life, kind of?
just the feeling of the power rushing through my body was addictive.
Mm.
The dreams themselves were so vivid. It was absolutely indistinguishable. It was I could not differentiate the difference between these dreams and the real world while I was sleeping. Like
Wow.
these dreams were very real.
Did
I
you
would wake up in like a puddle of sweat, like for real. My
so
grandma would be like, she'd be like, "What?" My grandma would set on my bed, and she'd be like, "What have you been doing in here, young man?" I would say, "Grandma, I've been sleeping," just like that. And she would put her hand on my head, and she goes, "Your head is just burning up." She goes, I think you got a fever. I said, Grandma, I'm fine. She goes, why are you breathing all hard? What is going on? I said, Grandma, I've been sleeping. Grandma, I promise you on everything, I've been sleeping.
So, did your parents kick you out? What happened to for you to lose your home?
Well, I was 17. I, I got into this program. Well, my family threw me in the clinker, man. They put me in these behavior centers slash psychiatric centers. I spent 3 years of my adolescent years in behavior centers because of these voices and because of the dreams. My family were hardcore drug addicts, so I developed a anger problem, just because of the way that they treated me growing up and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna lie, I had a really bad anger problem, to say the least. I've knocked people out for looking at me wrong. I know I don't seem like the type of guy to do that now, but in my younger years, I'm not gonna lie, I was certified crazy in multiple ways.
So, when you found yourself out on the street, do you remember what your first impression of it was? And does the mental illness that you were stuck inside of, how did that like kind of color your experience?
Well, the first 3 years that I was homeless, I used to walk around. I used to walk around Indianapolis, Indiana, just talking to myself out loud. I stayed at the homeless shelter for the first 3 years of my homelessness, and basically, there was a great feeling of liberation. Like I really felt liberated from my family and from all that. It's like you get up, you can do whatever you want. There's no schedule. All the food was free, all the clothes were free. Also, I got a lot of free therapy. Like I used to walk up and I would talk to random people on the street, and I would be talking to them for hours, telling them all my problems, and it was like free therapy. It was amazing,
You
very
know,
healthy, very therapeutic.
that's kind of how I feel about this podcast. Like, I've gotten plenty of free therapy from all kinds of people.
Hell yeah, heck yeah.
Um, that's really interesting. And so we were talking about this earlier, and you said that your homelessness actually occurred during COVID lockdowns and Black Lives Matter.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
at what point of the timeline was that, and what were your impressions of those things?
Well, I was homeless for 10 years. That was from 2010 to 2020. Um, well, and it was like the later part of 2020 that I got out of homelessness. Basically, I had homies of mine on the street. They was they was out there. They hit the jewelry stores and stuff like that here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I mean, they was selling $5,000 rings for uh, $40. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, like, okay, let me scrape up $40. But also, there was a lot of other stuff going on, like the bathrooms. The bathrooms, when they boarded up the whole city, dude, we could not find absolutely anywhere to use the bathroom.
Mm.
All of the alleys downtown Indianapolis were covered in feces and urine from the homeless people. So, and like nobody wanted to come downtown to to do anything because the whole downtown was boarded up. So I couldn't panhandle to make money anymore. I couldn't make any money. I couldn't make any food because all the restaurants were boarded up. Everything was boarded up. Nobody would come downtown. So I was standing, after the shutdowns were over, I was standing on the corner, and there was this reporter. She was a reporter from the Channel 8 News, and I actually I was standing there and she goes, "Would you mind if I interview you?" I say, I'm cool with that. Yeah, sure. And I told them about the alleys, the feces and the urine in the alleys. And within 2 weeks after that show had aired, we got 4 porter potties put downtown in the alleys. Blessing. That
Oh,
was a real blessing. Of course, some other guy took credit for it, but hey, I don't mind. As long as we got a improvement.
yeah. Wow. So
And
how close did some of the protests come to you? Did you ever feel scared?
I actually have videos that I had posted on my old Facebook account, but I'd be sitting there like charging my phone because they got like outdoor outlets here in Indianapolis, Indiana. I was charging my phone and I'm just trying to stay awake, because a lot of homeless people, they're very, very sleep deprived. So I was very sleep deprived and I was trying to stay awake. And man, I tell you, they started walking down the street like a crowd of like probably 10,000 people, and they were saying, "No justice, no peace, no justice, no peace," and I was like, "What the?" I was like, "What is going on?" Like literally, I was right on the sidewalk where they were on the street that they were walking down. And I was like, "What?" Hey, Rod. Hey, it was crazy, but so like basically, I kind of want to jump on the homelessness thing. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
okay?
Yeah, I have a list of things to talk about, and I want to make sure we get all the important stuff into.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Would you want to talk about how you were not a drug and alcohol person, and how you had formerly looked down upon people who were into drugs and alcohol?
Yeah, so I actually used to, because I've never been on any kind of drugs, alcohol, anything like that, and I'll tell you why. My family were hardcore drug addicts, so basically I learned from their mistakes, and the more it messed our family up, the more I wanted to never do that stuff. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? So that's why I chose to never be on drugs. I've
Was
been
it?
all before I was ever even before I was ever even an adult. My
Mm.
family had offered me drugs endless times. My own family had offered me to do crack, coke, weed. I can't even count how many times they've offered me to smoke weed, and I've literally turned it down every single time. So me being out on the streets when I was homeless, it was nothing. Everybody said, "Hey, you want to do this? Hey, you want to try that?" No, no, right?
Did they think that you were weird for not?
Well, it's not that they thought I was weird. It's that there's just a stereotype. There's a stereotype that all homeless people are on drugs. They're too lazy to work, and that's it. And that's just not the case. That's not the case. um that's just a stereotype. But basically, so I used to look down upon those that were on drugs while I was homeless, because it seemed like a lot of them were on drugs, and especially the ones that were on that real hardcore drugs. I really looked down upon that. I used to frown upon them and stuff like that, until this one day. There was this one day, I had this one experience that changed my whole perception. It was like a self realization, an eye opener in my life. And basically, I was out trash diving, dumpster diving, with this guy that was also homeless, and I didn't realize it until me and him, we had hung out for like, I don't know, 12 hours, 14 hours. And then he told me he was a heroin addict. And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What? Really?" Because he didn't seem like he was a heroin addict. Okay. Now, this guy was walking around barefoot downtown. Okay. He had no shirt on. But when I would talk to him, he always looked me in the eyes. and stuff like that. So I just assumed he was not a drug addict. You know what I mean? Uh, and that's the thing, never assume. Because I tell you, it's so hard to tell these days. You just don't know. There's so many functioning addicts that have regular jobs. You really don't know. Just don't assume by the simple stuff like look if they're looking you in the eyes or not, if they're able to conduct a conversation sensibly. I used to like judge people from indications that were very simplistic like that. But I slowly but surely learned you really can't never tell if somebody's on drugs or not. You just can't tell. You there's no way to know for sure. I'll
Mm.
tell you that. So me and this guy, we were downtown, and he said he made $190 panhandling. I said, "Whoa, bro, that's pretty good, man. Congrats, right?" And I said, "Well, I haven't made anything today. I've only made like $3 today." I said, "Is there any way you could buy me a meal or something?" Bro, I would if I could. He said, "I just gave all my money to the dope man." He said, literally, I gave every last dollar I had to the dope man. And I said, "Oh, okay, well, all right." He goes, hold on, wait, because I considered this guy to be a friend at this point. He goes, "Hold on, just 1 minute. I'm gonna get you some money to get you something to eat." And he sat there and he asked every person that was walking by for like 30 or 40 minutes. And he was asking them for money to get me something to eat. And sure enough, after he asked like 30 people, somebody gave him a $20 bill. And he goes, "Hey, I got $20, man. Let's go in here." So we go across the street. There was a Steak and Shake, and he takes me in there and he buys me a meal. Before we went inside Steak and Shake, I had a big hole. I had a big ripped shirt. I had a big hole in my t-shirt. He goes, "Is that the only shirt you got?" I said, "Yeah, it's the only one I got." He reaches in his book bag, gives me a t-shirt, and he bought me a meal. The meal came out to like $10, but he gave me the change, which was the other $10. So and he sat there and he talked to me when I was eating. We sit there and talked for 30 or 40 minutes about a lot of stuff. And that whole little experience that I had, it just changed my whole perspective. Here's the thing. If you're a hardcore heroin addict that's been a heroin addict for years and you're biologically enslaved to heroin, but the goodness and the godliness inside of you is more powerful than that drug that you're addicted to. That was so powerful of an experience for me personally. And I'll never forget. I never looked down upon drug addicts ever, not alcoholics, nothing. Because I know that the goodness and godliness in people is stronger, much stronger than that biological enslavement to that drug.
That is so well said. That literally gave me goosebumps down my head. Thank you so much for sharing that. You said that you spent the first 3 years of your homelessness staying at the shelter, and
Yeah.
we were talking before about how that the homeless shelter system is a failure and how they just shove Jesus down your throat. So let's talk about that.
Well, an average Christian goes to church about once or twice a week. Um, and basically, when I was at that shelter, they made us sit through an hour-long service for 1 hour every day. That's 7 days a week. Now, a lot of the places that we go to get free food, they also want to share the word with us and stuff like that. So literally, I'm not BSing you. I was going to church like 10 times a week. And that is enough to make anybody just downright sick of it. Because here's the thing. When it comes, because I know Jesus. I know Jesus is my personal friend. Literally. Now, uh, but here's the thing. I'm going to tell you this. Basically, you're supposed to respect the nature of the process of becoming a believer. When you're shoving it down people's throats, it's nothing more or less than brainwash. Especially when you're talking about people that's under the age of 12, that is definitely, most definitely brainwash. Because their minds are not fully developed to even comprehend something like that. You know what I'm saying? You're just, Anyways, my point is that it's supposed to be a choice. You know how women always say, "Hey, it's my body, my choice," right? Well, hey, it's my soul, it's my choice.
Right.
So don't force it upon me. Just so I can. I don't want to sit here and have to listen to you preach to me Bible verses that I've already heard 10,000 other times.
Right.
Because I'm serious. They
You
would
know,
sit there and they would preach to us the same stuff that we've been hearing being preached to us for years.
oh,
I mean, hell, they come in there and they act like we ain't never heard the word of Jesus. Bro, this is America. Indianapolis, Indiana, America. This ain't Ethiopia, okay? We've heard the word. Okay?
and it just struck me as you're talking about it, that talking about Jesus being a close and personal friend, why is it okay to hear voices from other beings, but like, oh, hearing God talk to you, that's cool. That's not crazy. But anybody else's voice, that's crazy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. I like that. And
Um,
and here so like so basically the shelter was a joke because well, it was like every 5 minutes. Hey, you got a cigarette? Hey, you got a lighter? Hey, you got any change, bro? Hey, can I use your phone, bro? Can I use your cell phone? Like every 5 minutes. Hey, you want to buy some drugs? Hey, you want to you got any drugs for sale? Like every 5 minutes, that's what it was like, and it drove me crazy. It's enough to drive anybody crazy. There was actually a lot of people at the homeless shelter that would talk to themselves out loud. There was ex-cons that had just got out of prison and they were at the shelter on house arrest. There was ex-convicts on house arrest at the homeless shelter. And I'm telling you right now, you look at these guys the wrong way and they gonna beat your ass. Like for real, they crazy. They is crazy up in there, man.
did you feel
You know,
scared a lot?
it's just you have to be very see a lot of people in homeless shelters, they just lost their kids to CPS, they just lost their job, their wife just divorced them, they just went bankrupt, and etc., to where basically it's like everybody's on it's it's that they're on an emotional roller coaster and they're very high strung. You never know what these people are going through personally. A lot of them have just lost loved ones. You know, there's all kinds of stuff that they're going through. So you just got to be very cautious about what you say, or you accidentally bump into somebody and you don't say excuse me or sorry, and they just might turn around and beat the brakes off of you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how it is up in there. And also, it's like you go to the bathroom at the homeless shelter. There's cigarette smoke in the bathroom. There's people are shooting up drugs in the bathroom. I once seen two guys blowing each other for drug money in the bathroom. There's it's the local Wheeler Mission here in Indianapolis, Indiana. the homeless shelter for men. And on the streets, we always called it stealer mission, because if you get caught for stealing in Wheeler Mission, they don't kick you out or nothing. So it's like all the thieves, all those thieves, they sit in Wheeler Mission, look, and they're waiting for new homeless people to become homeless, so that they can steal all the shit that they got. And I mean, it's crazy. There's a huge epidemic of homeless people stealing from homeless people in general. Like they walk around in packs every night. They walk around in packs looking for other homeless people that has fell asleep, so that they can snatch their book bags while they're sleeping. So I mean, it's really crazy out there. But the Wheeler Mission, the Wheeler Mission doesn't want to kick people out after they steal something, because if they kick that person out, then they can't make money off that person. They make $300 tax write-off money per each person that's in there per day. It's nothing. Homelessness in my lifetime has become a huge corporation.
So
It's a
where does that money go? Because obviously it's not helping anything.
That money goes straight to rich people's pockets.
Of course it does.
They got like $22 million federal grant money. They got like $4 million of local government grants. Then they have a huge pyramid scheme kind of thing going on at the Wheeler Mission, where they only invite people from well-off churches to come serve food to the homeless. All of the food is donated to Wheeler Mission for free. All of the clothes that's donated to Wheeler Mission is free. Everything that Wheeler Mission gives to the homeless, they got for free. It's all donated to them for free. They don't pay taxes because it's a Christian organization. Also, they have this scheme where like all these well-off churches are invited to serve food to these homeless people at the Wheeler Mission homeless shelter. And these well-off people, they feel sorry for these homeless people, so they'll write a $5,000 check to Wheeler Mission, or a $2,000 check to Wheeler Mission. And those people have no clue. They have no clue that money is not going to the homeless. That money is going straight to rich people's pockets. Just think about it. There's 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. Or no, they only do two meals a day. So that's 2 meals a day, 7 days a week. So that's 14 different churches that are coming there per week from well-off church. They're well-off churches in well-off areas. So these people got money. And if they feel sorry for these homeless people that they're serving food to, oh, they're going to write a big check to Wheeler Mission. It's been an estimation. This is just an estimation that they make over $40 million off that little scheme, just that little scheme by itself a year. And that's just that's an educated, calculated guess. So I can't quote the exact numbers, but I do know what kind of donations they get. It's like anywhere from $500 to $5,000 per each donation on average.
Do you think, or did you feel exploited when they came? Like, did they give you less clothes with more holes in them? Like, look how badly we're doing when they came to serve you?
No, those people that are donating the food, they are just regular people trying to donate their time to help out the needy.
Yeah, I was actually referring to when the rich people come to, serve the food and write the big checks. Did you just feel kind of exploited by the whole situation?
Actually, I didn't actually learn what was going on until much later. When I started to see, when I became an extrovert, I become like the Michael Jordan of homelessness. I knew all the homeless people, all the homeless outreach leaders. I knew everybody. I mean, I'm for real. I knew a lot of people that work downtown. I knew a lot of people that used to be homeless. I'm actually like certified locally famous for that. You know what I'm saying? Like for real. Like and most of these people that I'm talking about, I only know them by face. You know, we on the streets we have like street aliases. We never was called by our real name. My 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 street name was Merch, because I used to sell merchandise. All these homeless people, man, they steal a lot of merchandise for drug money. So I would buy that merchandise and I would resell it. You know, I would be panhandling. I used to panhandle for like 10 hours a day, same hours every day, 7 days a week, 4 weeks a month, 12 months out of the year, 365. And I did that for like 2.5 years, 3 years. I was a hardcore panhandler. I used to have people that would take the long way to work, walking to work, just to give me money. I'm serious. I used to have people that would give me the same amount of money every week, every Friday when they got paid. I used to have people that would walk past 20 other homeless people that's panhandling. They would walk past 20 other panhandlers just to give me some money. Sometimes when I would be talking to homeless people, and my I used to call them my clients. When my clientele would come through to give me money, when my clients would come through to give me money, I would be talking to a homeless person, so they would bless me with money, and then they would bless the homeless person standing right next to me with money.
Hmm.
It was crazy. And there's all these restaurants downtown. Well, I got to know a lot of the waitresses and a lot of the restaurant managers and stuff like that. Man, I tell you what, hey, they used to come through this one time. Oh man, this is crazy. I just thought of this. There was this one time this guy come back. There was these huge bags. I mean, they're like those really big grocery bags. It's made out of the paper grocery bags. He had like 8 of them, but they were all filled with cooked meals from a really nice restaurant. I'm not bullshitting you. It's like $40 a meal at that restaurant. And he come through with like eight bags. There was like 4 or 5 meals in every bag. I was like, what? I'm like, what? Oh man. Like I guess they had like a catering thing and they just had a lot of food left over or whatever. And I was like, bet.
Yeah. I wanted to go back to what you're talking about earlier about being stolen from. Were you stolen from? How did you stay safe from these gangs of violent people?
Well, I used to panhandle all the time, and when I say I used to save up most of my money to buy merchandise. Um, so I had like 3 book bags filled with merchandise. I mean, I had probably $15,000 retail value of merchandise. I'm talking the Sony Bluetooth earbuds, the JBL Bluetooth earbuds, all that. I had some really nice, high quality merchandise in these 3 book bags, and I was, I'm an extrovert, so I sit there and I was talking to this guy on the corner while I was panhandling. I probably talked to this guy for 30 or 40 minutes. And after I got done talking to him, I looked back. My bag was originally like 5 feet behind me next to the trash can. Well, after I got done talking to that guy, I looked back to see if my book bag was safe, and it was gone. And they got me. They got me. They got
Oh,
my book bag, and there was a lot of money worth of merchandise in that book bag. So basically, it's like I uh, I just made it a point. I made a promise to myself. Hey, they ain't never gonna get me again. You know. So basically, I got a storage unit. I started renting out this storage unit so that all my merchandise would be safe.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I've seen, I've gotten in fights over people doing stuff on me and stuff like that. There's this one time, it was an iPhone 9. I bought it for like $30 and I was trying to sell it. And this one dude, he acted like he wanted to buy it, right? And this homeless guy was the guy that recommended me to this guy, by the way. So I'm sitting there I'm showing him this iPhone or whatever. He was like, okay, let me see if it turns on. So I hand him the iPhone and he darts off running. I mean, he just starts booking it. Oh man, I said, I'm a really big guy. I weigh 350 pounds, but I tried chasing him. You know what I mean? But I was pretty upset. And I actually, over time, you're not gonna believe this. I actually, every time I would see that dude, I'd insult him and I would tell him, I say, hey, where's my $30? And that's what I had I had like $30 into that phone. So I said, hey, you owe me $30. Where's my money? every time I would see him, he was a big dude. I'm not gonna lie, he was a big dude. Here's the thing about homelessness. When you're homeless, you really got to hold your own and you got to hold it down. I've had a lot of drug addict, homeless people try to muscle me out of my corner because they was jealous because I was making all that money. You know what I'm saying? I was making all that money and they was getting jealous. They was player hating and they thought they could make money like I make money. But see, here's the thing. I used to wave, smile. I gave fist bumps, high fives. I used to bust raps. I used to give restaurant recommendations, tourist attraction recommendations, bar recommendations. I used to give movie recommendations. I used to give a whole bunch of compliments while I was panhandling on that corner. If you're a panhandler and you're just sitting there or standing there holding a sign, man, you're a freaking idiot. That ain't how you get that money. See, you got to get the money. It's not about what they can do for you. It's about what you can do for them. If you do for others, you'll never do without. So
Absolutely.
that
I'm
that's the state of mind that I kept the whole time I was homeless.
well, speaking
I
of state of mind, can I pop in?
Yeah.
I'm curious, did the voices follow you the entire time of being out on the streets, and how and when did you get help with dealing with it?
Well, it's funny you asked that because basically it was self-realization. It was a pride. It was about me putting myself in check about priorities. Do I want to go out and talk to these voices all day? Or do I want to go out and panhandle and get some really good food, a pocket full of money, and figure out some kind of shelter for tonight? So I had to make a choice. What's more important? Talking to these voices or food, shelter, water, and talking to actual real people? So yeah, I just made that choice. And I never looked back. I never looked back. I made that choice to, I'm a big guy and I'll tell you, I like some good food. And if I got to stand on a corner, if I got to stand on a corner for an hour to get it, I will. I'm not going to lie. Hey, there's a lot of places in this city I could have went panhandling, but I've always stuck downtown. There's actually a corner. No, it's not a corner. It's a medium. It's a medium in the middle of a road. Okay. Um, and it's actually like probably an hour, dude. It's far out there. I mean, it's far out east. It's like east or southeast, and it's far out there. It's far away from downtown. And believe it or not, people make $200 an hour on that corner, on that medium. They make $200 an hour out there. But guess what? I don't go there. You know why? Because all the good restaurants, they're downtown. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you go ahead and make that $200. You're gonna spend about 100 of that dollar. They're gonna spend 100 of that $200 on food. Now, me, I'm gonna be eating good for free downtown. You know what I'm saying?
I am totally with you there. It's all about the food. Let's talk about the difference between domesticated and non-domesticated homelessness.
Well, um, basically, the first 3 years I was homeless, like I said, I was at the shelter. I really hated the shelter for a variety of reasons. So I decided to go sleep in tents and under bridges for the remaining 7 years of my homelessness. Um, so, when you're sleeping in a tent, you're sleeping outside, there's just a lot of, after like it's like after 8 or 9 o'clock, everything downtown Indianapolis just closes up. So there's nowhere to use the bathroom after 8 or 9 o'clock. So basically, the difference between domesticated homeless people and non-domestic homeless people is their hygiene and household etiquette, and also like even the way they talk to people. Like if you're chronically homeless, most of the people you talk to, they're homeless. So you talk to homeless people like, hey, I don't give a what you say. I don't give a what you think. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of the way that a lot of them talk to each other. But that's not how you want to talk to regular people. You know what I mean? So, and the hygiene, we wear the same clothes for 3 or 4 days, 5 days, 6 days at a time. You know, a lot of the times when I would when I would take a bath, it was in the bathrooms, taking a bird bath in the sink in the local restaurants' bathrooms at downtown. Um, and then like household etiquette. Like I would go over my grandma's, God bless her heart. I'd go over my grandma's and I would have all this mud on my boots, on my shoes, and I'd just walk right in. She'd be like, where did all this mud come from? She goes, boy, you better take off them shoes right now. And to an average person, if you got mud on your shoes, duh, take them off at the door. You know what I mean? But it's like stuff like that just didn't register to
Mhm.
me because I was living I was living outside for so long. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like
And
rinsing off your dish after, if you dirty up a dish, you rinse it off when you put it in the sink. I mean, just little stuff like that in terms of how it took me a year and a half to become domesticated again.
mm,
That's how far out, like that's how it's it's like coming out of prison. When you come out of prison after doing a long bid in prison, they give you a period of time. It's called the transitional period, where you're integrated back into society, and you start to learn and adapt to the ways of society. That's how it is with homelessness. When you've been homeless for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years,
mhm.
even 5 years. uh
I can
you know
imagine that it would be hard to really like let go of the sense of like someone stealing my bag, like this hyper awareness of what's going on around you and what's safe.
yes, yes, that is very accurate. There's a lot of people I know, they do not leave their bag anywhere. They won't leave it anywhere. uh, they lock the doors behind them everywhere they go. If they go in somebody's house, they shut the door, they lock it. If they go to the bathroom real quick, they lock it. They always lock the doors. They'll never leave anything around you. Like let's say me and you were having a cup of coffee at a restaurant or something, and I say, hey, I got to go to the bathroom, and I'll just leave my cell phone there on the table while I go to the bathroom real quick, right? Well, homeless people don't do that. They taking their cell phone with them everywhere they go. You know what I mean? Because they don't trust nobody. They really don't trust anybody. And here's here's what I've noticed, that a lot of homeless people, all the people they know are homeless, and a lot of these homeless people are stealing off of each other, lying to each other, uh, talking trash about each other behind each other's backs and stuff like that. So it's a real scandalous kind of environment. It's real shady kind of environment. So they're used to being around cutthroat people, and it takes a long time for them to be able to trust somebody. And they don't. This is what I noticed. They don't realize that there is good people out there in the real world, and they don't know that because they can't see that. They can't see past the circumstances that they're in. And I couldn't for a long time, you know?
There's a word that comes to mind, and I usually like to Google stuff to know if am I using this word right? But I think it's the right word, that you have an indomitable spirit, that you won't be crushed. You won't be like, no matter how hard the world might have tried to take away your spark and your faith and your hope in decent people, like, you will just rise above it and just be a light. And that's just really awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, my goal now is to educate people about homelessness. Because homelessness is a very stereotyped concept. Like I said, they think that all homeless people are on drugs and they're too lazy to work. And that's just not the case. Never judge somebody just by what they look like or what you're seeing, ever. Because you don't know what they've been through, you don't know what they're going through, and you don't know that person in general. So for you to actually judge somebody just by what they look like, honestly, you're really shallow minded. I don't care how strong the indications are. Hey, you don't know what circumstances they're going through. You don't know what they've been through, you know? So,
So when people see a homeless person out there, what should they do? How should they talk to them?
well, out of all the money that people have given me throughout the years, I value the conversations that people had with me much more. I value I value the time that people took out of their day to listen to me and to talk to me. I value that much more than all the money that's ever been given to me. Also, I want to say, if you want to talk to a homeless person, that's fine. But being on that corner is like being at their office at their job. So don't take up a lot of their time because they are there to make money. 100%. So you don't want to take up a lot of their time, but also no matter no matter how bad homeless people are on drugs, they still need food. They still need food, they need clothes, they need water. So if you don't feel comfortable giving a drug addict money, that's fine. I understand that 100% because I feel the same way. But giving them food, giving them clothes, just ask them, hey, is there anything you need? You know what I mean? They might need bus passes. They might need some hygiene, some clothes. If you eat anywhere in a downtown area and you have some leftover food, offer that leftover food to homeless people. If you have an abundance of leftover food in your refrigerator and you really don't eat leftovers, give it to homeless people. you know. And also, I want to say giving homeless people advice, and also giving them some positive encouragement. That means a lot to homeless people. And I also want to say that when I was homeless, the women had it the absolute worst.
Mm.
They were beaten, they were raped, they were pimped out for money, they were pimped out. They were taken advantage of for sex. A lot of the middle class people would prey on the female homeless people for sex. Um, a lot of the homeless people would pimp out the female. A lot of the male homeless people, they would pimp out the female homeless person to get drug money. And they would beat these women to make them afraid of them, to control them. And they would get these women hooked on drugs so they could use the drugs as a tool to manipulate these women. So if you ever see a homeless woman, give her some pepper spray. You
Mm.
know, that's the best gift you can give her. And if you see a homeless woman with a really shady ass looking dude, offer, tell, offer to intervene if it looks necessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he's talking to her like a dog, step in and say, "Hey, look, Miss, if you want me to uh to be here, I look, I'm gonna be honest, man. It's like if you want me to remove you from this situation and get you away from this guy, I can, and
Maybe
I
like
will.
maybe like pass a note or something like that she can see, or phone number or something. I don't.
Yeah. Now let's say the guy goes to the bathroom real quick. Yeah, you could do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good information. It's hard but necessary. It's like you gotta see people, gotta pay attention to the energy that's coming from their situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the sex trafficking, the human trafficking, the drug cartels, the mafias, and also there's a lot of that that's directly that all of that is directly associated with homelessness. In this world, there's endless things to see, there's endless things to do, and there's endless people to meet. So I want you to know that all things are possible. If you get off drugs, you can actually live a life. Because being on drugs, that's not living life. That's just barely being alive.
Mm.
Really, it's like The Walking Dead. So if you want to be alive and you want to live a life worth living, get off drugs. I want to say for anybody that's really going through it, really going through anything, I want you to keep this in mind. A wise person once said, if they take my freedom, if they take my dignity, if they take everything I own, if they take away my family, if I don't let them up here in my mind, they have nothing.
Mm.
And that's powerful. That's powerful. Because I'll tell you right now, there's one thing I sincerely value, and that's positivity. Because when bad stuff would happen to me when I was homeless, it would put me in a bad mood. And it would bring up all these bad thoughts in my mind. So I took control of the situation. And I always keep positive thoughts in my mind. I always speak positive words out my mouth. If I just want to say this, if you're somebody that wants to be around positive people because you got negative people around you, positive people will not come into your life until you get those negative people out of your life, because they don't want to be around that kind of stuff.
Mm.
it's not that you're a negative person, it's the people you're associating with are negative. So, I want everybody to keep that in mind. And I also want to say that if you're hearing voices, I'm not saying that all the time it's spiritual warfare, because sometimes I think some people really are just crazy. but I do want to say that a lot of this, I want to say half of the time, from my experience on the streets, half of the time, those people were experiencing spiritual warfare, had the exact same symptoms, the exact same things that I was going through. They were going through exactly what I was going through, and I know what it is. It's spiritual warfare.
So
Uh,
when you say spiritual warfare, do you mean like demons?
from my experience, and I'm telling you, I have an abundance of experience with that. I have come to the conclusion recently that these are fallen angels. Now, they have come to me and had the images of many different kinds of beings. Um, but in general, I think in general communication that I experience, it is in fact being controlled by fallen angels.
Hmm.
Um, when they're talking about stuff you don't know about, when they're using voices that you've never heard, or if they're showing you things that you've never seen, I want you to tread very lightly and be very cautious. If it's not building you up, it's bringing you down.
That
So if
is
they
the key.
if they start talking about things that's on a negative frequency, law of attraction says negativity attracts negativity. So, even if you got to say it out loud, hey, stop talking to me. You know what I mean? Because even at nighttime when I lay down, I can hear these voices. I just don't talk to them.
Hmm.
I don't engage in conversation, and the that gives you the upper hand. I used to analyze the conversations and analyze the communication, uh, and I'm not going to get into why, but it was trying to decipher the lies that these images were lying to me about, trying to figure out what they're really talking about, for one, but also I'm trying to figure out what they're lying to me about, and I'm trying to figure out if they did do something or they didn't do something. So I would analyze these conversations to the T. And I deciphered right through their lies. And I'm not even going to get into it, but
But now you've got you saw the fruit that it was leaving in your life. It was trying to suck your life away, of just leaving you sweating in bed and just leaving you mumbling to yourself and not having food in your belly. And now
yeah,
you with your own spirit, your own decision, you got free.
yep.
And that's
And
awesome. Well done.
it's awesome. Thank you.
But yeah, thank you so much for taking this time. I'm so glad that you're in a safe situation now, and you have stability, and I'm really happy for you. And I really, really appreciate you sharing this. And I hope it's really going to make people think and just challenge people to compassion. I definitely feel challenged.
Wow. That's cool. That's good.
There's so much need in this world. But we can make a difference because our stories matter and our stories can change the world. And
That's right.
that's why I have this podcast, because I want to be a part of making this world better. So thank you for
Awesome.
being a guest, and I look forward to sharing this. And yeah, so the way that I end my conversations is I give hugs. Hugs. Thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome. Can I give a shout out to Public Access Podcast?
Sure, go for it.
And I'm on Facebook if anybody wants to DM me for any donations. I'm trying to get my homeless outreach going. It's Jonathan Powell, JonathanPowell at Facebook, and just DM me on Messenger or something.
Yeah, well, I will put all the links that you give me into the description so people can just look down below and find how to connect with you and check out the podcast. So that's great. Cool. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.
I should know by now, when the sun goes down, the earth's gonna turn and the heaven's gonna burn again. The earth's gonna turn and the heaven's gonna burn again.